Welcome to Be a Showoff, the dance lifestyle podcast, where the best of the best come to shine. I'm Becky.
And I'm Alexandra. And whether you're a dance coach, dance parent, or a dancer yourself, this is the show for you.
Today we're bringing you a powerhouse episode with one of the fiercest leaders in the dance world.
She's a coach, mentor, trailblazer, and the driving force behind the unstoppable Ohio State dance team.
Please welcome Melissa McGhee.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining us today. So we want to start off by having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you're at, your dance career, all the fun stuff.
Oh man, okay. Well, I am originally from Toledo, Ohio, so I was born in Ohio. I grew up dancing in the studio, so started literally at age 2.5, I think. Never stopped. I just kind of fell in love with it. So kind of grew up like traditional studio kid my whole life. Didn't really know what a dance team was, honestly. It's not huge here in Ohio. But I had a friend that went to Ohio State and was on the dance team from my studio. So I sort of went my senior year when I decided I was looking at Ohio State and checked it out and thought it was a great way to keep dancing. So went to Ohio State. I was on the team for 4 years. I was the captain my last year and then ended up rolling in to start coaching the year after I graduated, which was crazy. And I just am finishing season 14 now. So kind of crazy.
That is crazy. 14 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So what was it like when you were a dancer versus being a coach? Like, what was the difference in the team?
Oh gosh, a lot of differences. We've grown a lot since I've been on the team. But actually when I was on the team, we were a club sport, a club team. So, we were organized under the rec sports department, not athletics when I was on the team. My senior year actually was the transition to athletics. So I was kind of in an interesting time on the team where I was able to see what it was as a club sport and then what it started as a varsity sport or under athletics, we weren't even a recognized sport. And we had a lot of people on the team. We probably had like 30, 35 people on the team. We have a much smaller roster now. And we did a lot more like university events. We maybe did 3 basketball games or so. Didn't do any football games. It was very different. We competed at NDA my first 2 years when I was on the team. So it was honestly quite a different world than it is now.
So when you were on the team, like, did you have a vision? Like, I want to make a change. I want to do something different. I want to coach this and take it to the next level. Was that like your way of thinking?
I never wanted to coach. Ironically, I've always been like a passionate person. Like, if I'm gonna do anything, I'm gonna do it, 120%. I feel like that's always kind of been my MO. But I never really thought I would continue on with dance team. I thought I loved it. It was my whole life, but I thought I was sort of gonna do like have my business career and that was gonna be my, my way of life. But I think once I started to coach, that's when I realized
So you finished, did you ever think that you were going to go ahead and start coaching at Ohio after you graduated, when you finished, dancing? Was this something that you wanted to do and take it to the next level?
yeah, no, I never imagined myself coaching. I sort of did it as a year trial to try and help through a transition. And then I think after that year is when I sort of got the bug and got the vision and then was sort of obsessed. And here I am today.
And so how has it changed between when you were on the team to what you do now with the team? How has that changed?
Gosh, we always joke like we would never make the team these days. And we can all, I think, humbly admit that. It was a very different era. I will say, even in my era, we still loved Ohio State. We loved competing. We loved the camaraderie and the family that the team had. But yeah, the talent level is quite different these days than it was back in the day. But that has been cool to be a part of. Obviously, once I got out of the mix, I think the team got a lot better. So
Yeah. No, you definitely were part of like changing that, because I mean, you went from Ohio wasn't going to UDA to you guys being top team in the nation. So that's huge. And I mean, it seems like forever for you. 14 years seems like, whoa, forever. But really, in the grand scheme of it, it's really not that much time. Yeah. So it's amazing how far you've taken the team.
What do you think was your turning point? Like when you kind of figured it out and like figured the science out and said, okay, I think this is going to be what works, and just got you to that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was like any coach at the age of 22. Like, I sort of walked in, I joke now, like, I don't know what they were doing hiring me at 22. Like, I had never coached a team before, and let alone a college team at one of the biggest universities in the country. So like quite literally, I really think I did a lot of things wrong. I just learned through trial and error and experience. I had a lot of great mentors that helped me. And I think by the year 5-ish, 6-ish, I felt like, okay, I sort of have a grasp on like a little bit more. Like I didn't feel like I was drinking from a fire hose anymore, as much as I had in the beginning. And then could kind of just like continue to like tweak and get better and get better and get better was, I think, always kind of my goal. But I would say like once you got through a full 4 years at least for me.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I had a very similar journey to you, so I can definitely relate. I did not really think that I wanted to have that position, and I was like, I'll do the 1-year transitional year, and here we are, and 10 years later.
It's hard to walk away after you know, especially when you invest so much time, it's very hard to walk away from that. So, and then you've also started a dance studio, which, you know, you just added right there to your plate a little bit more. So
how you don't work enough.
Yeah, I mean, good.
How has that been? Like, what do you find yourself having to, like, you know, give up in order to have those two amazing businesses?
Yeah, if you would ask me in high school, I would have told you I was going to open a studio. Like that was something I knew I wanted to do. Whereas like coaching the dance team sort of was a life transition, you know, weavy, windy path. I loved the studio. That was like my place growing up, like my safe haven, my family. Those are my people. Those were like the best formative experiences of my life. And I was super passionate about hopefully being able to offer that to kids one day. And so I think once I stopped working full time in the corporate America world, I had a little bit more time to think about how to work more. Yeah, so I opened the studio. We just celebrated 3 years. So
that's amazing. And you studied business?
yeah, I did business marketing.
So that helps. I studied business also with the same intention in mind, and I never pursued that. You know, I had a family instead, so it was kind of hard to go into the studio world. So, but I mean, that was always a passion I wanted to. I think if you're in dance world and you like dancing and stuff, you always kind of have that in the back of your head, like I want to have my own studio one day. So, and it probably doesn't give you much time to have any time off.
No, but I also think like I am the person, and I know that you guys are both this way, but to a certain extent, but I'm the person that like, you know, the people that I work with and what I do is really what I love. I love dance. I love the kids that I'm around and the families that we're around. And so for me, it's less about like, feels like I'm working all the time. Sure, in the middle of national season, it does. But, you know, I think a lot of it is like really fills my cup also.
And how great, because you have all the dancers there at Ohio that you have on the team that could help in the studio, and they're such great, you know, role models. So I'm sure the little kids are looking up to their teachers and being like, oh my God, my teacher's from Ohio State, and how cool is that? And I mean, that's such a great thing that you have, because the kids, I'm sure, you know, they love teaching and they love, you know, their passion for dance, you know, passing it on to the young kids. So that's
really
awesome.
Learning from the best too.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when we opened, I don't think a lot of people understood that. And so it's been an interesting transition. This is, Columbus is not like Miami. We've got a lot of, there's not a ton of studios around where we are. And it's a little bit of a different dance scene. So it's been a lot of education, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, and now these little girls are probably like all thinking, I want to go to Ohio State. I want to be in the dance team. Like they have a goal, which is nice because, you know, you've set that for them. So how amazing for everybody there.
Yeah.
So tell me, I want to know a little bit about your training with your dancers in Ohio, because, once they get into college, it's not like for us in high school, they go to studios and they train, at other places. But once they're in college, it's not like if they're going to studio anymore. So how do you continue training with them?
That has been something that has evolved a lot. I will say, like in my first, gosh, probably 6, 7, even 8 years, that was not. I didn't look at it like that because I never really I felt we were more of a dance team. Of course, we did some technique and, we did our rehearsals, but I didn't really look at it like these kids want to continue on with dance and we need to make sure they're getting better as they come through our program. And so I think the more studio kids we got, the better, honestly, the talent got, the more I felt compelled and really a responsibility to make sure that they were getting better. And so I think we've changed that a lot to where, especially right now in the spring when we have our sort of off season, for lack of a better term, like we pretty much run it just like you run a studio. You have your ballet, your Pilates, your tech, your combo classes, your variety training classes, bringing in guest choreographers or guest teachers. So it kind of does run like a studio in the off season a little bit because a lot of these kids want to dance, and so it's our responsibility to get them there.
So you said it kind of does run like a
studio
in the off season.
We do, honestly, we do run it like a studio, just so that they can keep their training and have opportunities, doors open if they want to keep dancing when they leave.
And so when you say that they do classes, are they required to train and take class? Like if they, oh, I'm kind of tired today, I don't want to take class of this, like, is it a requirement?
Yeah, no, there's no option. It's just like built into, so we keep our practice schedule consistent. So we are technically practicing the same amount that we did in the fall as we do in the spring. Now we add rehearsals on for nationals, but our Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3-hour training blocks, plus their strength and conditioning, plus their Pilates, plus their belt, like it stays the same. It's just a lot lighter, and we're filling it with class instead of filling it with get ready for the game, get ready for the rehearsal, do the performance, all of that.
Wow. So, and you do that all year long, starting now, once the year starts, you start doing that, or is it something that you just do like in different parts of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's heavy now. Obviously, when we don't have nationals, we can dive a lot further into that. So that is pretty much all we're doing right now, which is kind of my favorite season. I don't know if that's bad to say, but I love it. Whereas like we start obviously with a lot of training in the beginning and technique and all that stuff. But once we get to mid-November, end of November, I mean, we are pretty much rehearsing for nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the layer of football and traveling for bowls, like it is mid to end of November to mid-January is definitely a nationals focus. And then we kind of resume.
Yeah, it's hard because there's any little time you have, it's like we got to focus on the routines. So I think that, we try to do the same thing, and you try to train as much as possible before that point. And once you get to that point, hopefully they've gotten all their training that they don't need it as much.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're doing the classes and stuff, are you training for the routine? So like, are there specific things that you're like, we have to do this, this, and this because I want that in the routine?
Honestly, at this point, no. I think this point is really about we literally go back to the basics. Like I just did an across the floor with them where we balanced for 4 counts. We did a single and a double. Like that was all we were working on. We're like truly going back to like fundamental technique and strong jazz technique and ballet and all of the things that I think like lay the foundation to then be able to build upon for routines once we're at that point to be specific.
I want to go into a little bit of your recruitment process because I know that everybody's a little bit different in the way they do their recruitment for, their dance teams. And I think that you've made a lot of changes that other dance teams started kind of following along, because I remember back in the day it was they would go, they would actually, have like a weekend audition and, they would go through the whole prod, they would get eliminated, go on to the next round. And so now that's really changed a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about how your recruitment is?
Yeah, it's changed a ton. It's definitely a 24/7 job now, which I think has its pros and cons. But ultimately, like it doesn't have a start and an end point, really at any point when kids decide, hey, I think I'm interested in dance team, or when we ask them, hey, are you interested in dance team? You know, it could go either way. I think that's kind of when their journey starts. And we meet kids at different points of their career. Some people know really early if they're lucky enough to go to be maybe a part of a dance team, like one of your teams, or somewhere later in the game and they're trying to figure it out, and that's okay too. But we try and collect some data points on them, and be able to make an evaluation on if they're going to be good for our program. And we're definitely a rolling school, so
Yeah.
less like hard cutoffs and deadlines and things like that.
And what are some of the places that you go to kind of get to know these kids? So, like, I know that you went to the dance awards this last year. You know, of course, I know that you go to some of the different teams, you know, you see them with the different coaches. So, what are like some places that you go to where you are actually able to meet and see these kids?
Yeah, well, I think part of it's me, and then part of it's just like our network and our alumni too. Like, you know, I think I like to go to all of the big, you know, combines and or have been to the dance awards or wherever, you know, we feel like we're finding kids that are good fits for our program. But I would say like recently, I feel like we've had a lot of whether it's guest teachers or even alumni start to put people on our radar too, which has been really helpful, because you know I'm only one person. I can only be so many places. But having people that understand what we're looking for has been awesome too, to extend that reach.
And do you like what would you tell a kid who's saying, I'm a freshman in high school, I really want to go to Ohio? What would you tell them that they would need to do in order to grasp your eye or, you know, even have a chance to get on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, the biggest, I would say, passion point for me is finding the right fit for you. So it is awesome. And I love that people are so into dance team now. It's just like, I mean, you know, for those of us that have been around, it hasn't always been like that.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. But I think competition is just one piece of what we do. So I would say like taking a step back and really evaluating the schools. What is every team like? Do I want to do game day? Do I want to be at a big school, small school, close to home, far away from home? What can my family afford? What can my family support? All of those questions I think are like step one. And then if Ohio State is still something that they're interested in, then I think it's like, okay, well, how can I get there? You know, what does that look like for me? And obviously training is going to be first and foremost because you want to be able to put yourself in the mix from an ability perspective. Of course, coming to our camps and clinics is like amazing because that's my only time to see future dancers with the team and understand like, is that a good blend? Is that a good fit culturally? Like culture wise, are they, you know, having good nonverbal body language? All the little things that are like important to me.
Mhm.
Our camps are really important, but that doesn't mean if you can't get to one that that's like the only way either. So I would say like evaluating fit and training are probably like the two most important things off the top if you're a freshman.
And then you then have video submissions that you require at some point, and that's later on in the year. That's like after nationals and everything. Then they have the video submissions, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we look at videos and our deadline right now is June. It's just one data point though. I think a lot of people think like the video is the end all be all, and it's important. I love to see kids put in effort. But it's just a data point, and recruiting is about getting a lot of data points over time. At least for us anyway.
So I know from watching, you know, Nicole go through the process, and I had a student the year before who her process, she started really late. Like she was like, oh, it's senior year now, this is what I want to do. So where would you tell kids that it's the right time to start looking at colleges and what their future should be like?
Gosh, I feel like these days it's never too early, but at the same time, like as a freshman in high school, you don't know what you want or who you are or what
Yeah.
set is up even. I mean, really, I think it's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. I love when we see freshmen at our camps and clinics. Like, that is amazing that you know that early. It's just like not every kid's journey, and that doesn't mean that dance team is off the table. I think by the time you get to your junior year, you need to start thinking about it. But really, by the time you get to that mid or end point of your junior year, it's like you got to be in the mix these days because
Yeah.
the timelines are just fast, you know, and
Yeah.
people are trying to move. It's a little bit of the wild, wild west, as I like to call it. So, yeah, I think that end of junior year is pretty key.
Yeah, and I think that junior year is also, I mean, that's when you're should be looking at college, but it's also when the colleges are looking at you. Like those are
Yes.
those important years. So I think that junior year is like the perfect year. And I do think that any kid who, if they really want something, you know, college wise, if they wait to senior year, it's too late for anything. I don't think just dance team. I think if, you know, you have a goal of getting into a certain university, if you start looking your senior year, it's too late. You know,
For sure.
the requirements are like, you know, so massive that if you wait that long, you may not get to those requirements. So, yeah, junior year I think is the right time to start looking.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think I love most of what you've said and advice that you've given to kids who are going through the recruitment process has been make sure you love the school. Can you elaborate a little bit on why kids should be prioritizing loving the school or making sure the school is a right fit for them versus the dance team should be the right fit for them?
Well, I
Or
mean,
like priority.
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, at least in our program, like academics are really important. You have to get into the school. So, and even if you want to dance after school, at some point, dance is going to come to an end for you physically, even if you want to be a studio owner or coach or whatever. So, especially at like in a school at Ohio State, you're getting a traditional major. So you want to make sure that they have whatever it is that you're interested in to study so that you're set up for success after
Mhm.
school. For me, that is just like when you leave in 4 years, you got to have a plan. We got to get you somewhere. And so that's important. I think secondarily, like dancers' bodies are not always going to remain intact all 4 years. And you want that to be the case, of course. But gosh, I have so many stories where kids got injured. They didn't anticipate it, never had a prior injury. And then, suddenly dance isn't the main thing, taking up their time anymore because they're in the training room rehabbing or prehabbing or whatever it is, and it's school. So that we want them to enjoy where they're at and what they're doing, independent of dance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too that they're part of the Spirit program. They need to be able to cheer on the school and be they're the ones that are hyping everybody up saying that, this is Ohio State. This is the school you want to go to. This is you're cheering on your football program too and all these other sports. So
Yeah, you got to love the school.
yeah, you have to be their biggest cheerleader.
For sure, especially at like a massive university, like one of ours, like it is so ingrained. I mean, we're 50% basically nationals and 50% game day. So if you don't like the sidelines and you don't want to wear, a uniform with a block O, it's, you're not going to enjoy your time here.
When you're looking at the dancer, are you looking at a game day dancer, a dancer for the national stage? Is there something specific that you're looking for? Because that's something that, kids, I know that other schools that they're like game day is number one. Like you have to be the game day girl and nationals come second. So girls are not sure, or dancers are not sure what really, the schools are looking for.
Yeah, and I hear that because I think that is kind of complex for us too. Because when we're putting a class together, it's not like we're looking for, usually we take six-ish a year. I'm not looking for six of the same dancer that is perfect all across the board. So it's really hard to answer that question generally because a lot of what it is as a coach that you're trying to do is find the right mix of
Mhm.
people. I can't take all kids from one background because then I'm going to be deficient
Yeah.
in the same thing across the board. So that does evolve a little bit. And I think people try and play this game of like, what are they looking for? Like, I've got to fit this mold. And I think it needs to be the reverse of like, what can I bring to the table? And if what I can bring to the table fits into the, team they're trying to build, that's where the magic happens. So for us, game day is important, but I'm looking for body control, body awareness, enthusiasm, effort, energy. If you have those things and good jazz technique, we can teach you palm. I never held palms until I came to college. It's something if you have the body awareness, you can learn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's funny because that was my next question was, because I know that you take kids, like very studio kids, and some of them have never even been on a dance team. So the palm thing, that's a deficiency in a lot of the dancers. Like my dancers never did palm, so which is why I started doing game day to kind of help them with
now
that.
they do.
Now they do. Now they know how to hold those palms. But I know from watching them struggle with learning palm technique that's not easy. And your palm dances are, I mean, beyond. So how do you get those dancers to like learn that palm technique so soon? Because it is really hard when you've never done palm.
Yeah, it's not, I don't want to say that it's easy to learn it or teach it. Like it's just like this, but I think it's harder to teach body awareness, body control, all of those things that you build in ballet for years on end in jazz class. I can't I can't get you there in 3 months to be on the national stage. But which way to face your wrist, as long as you have your body control, we can work through that a little bit more expedited than like trying to make up years of ballet. But for us, it's nice because we have game day. And so meaning like football season starts in, end of August, early September, and we have like 50 band dances these kids have to learn. So they're literally going through like a palm boot camp to get ready for the,
Yeah.
to be on the sidelines to then, okay, that's step one. Then you can think about moving at the speed of light for a nationals routine if you can
Yeah.
do our band dances. So there is a little bit of like transition, and we've gotten better at what to look for with some of the studio kids of like indicators that they can be successful in palm down the line.
Yeah, because I think that is something kids worry about. Is that I've never done palm, I'll never be able to do that, and they could do it. It's just it's when you watch your routines, you're like, I don't think I can.
I think people would be shocked though how many kids that we put on the stage that until they've come to Ohio State have never held a pair of palms.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody's style. And I'm not saying it's the right way either. It's just like what we've unlocked for us and what's like worked for our particular team. So
Yeah, what works for one doesn't work for anybody else, baby. But I mean, it's worked, and it's something that as an outside coach, I appreciate watching it because I know that dancers struggle with palm routines when they've never used palms, and to see them go from never using palm and in 6 months do that, I mean that's impressive. So hats off to you for that.
and they got to do the work. We're just helping to guide them, but yeah, they put in a lot of effort for sure.
Let me ask you a question about nationals. So I know that everybody's different when they get to nationals, but what is your mind frame leading up to nationals week? With your routines and with your dancers, when you get there, like what is your mind frame and what do you do with your dancers to get them there?
Gosh, I don't know. Every year is different, I feel. Um, for me, I think that's evolved with age. Like, I think like my first few years coaching, I was a nervous wreck. And I think, the team felt that nervous energy, and it was almost like translated through into control of like, we're going to practice more, we're going to do more, we're going to hamster wheel it. I'm not totally off the hamster wheel, but I would say like I think that I have a little bit more perspective because you get years under your belt where you
Yeah.
realize going in like no matter what, it's going to be okay. Like no matter what happens at the end of the day, we're all going to live. And so
Yeah.
I think the perspective of like try to get yourself out of it for a second has been like helpful, because as someone that is like just like you both, like so deeply passionate about what we do and so passionate that the kids experience is, what you want for them. It's hard to take a step back. And so I've really tried to, because I think I'm a better coach when I can do that. And I can like get myself out of the emotion of it for a second and realize like at the end of the day, they're working hard towards a goal, and that's like what we want.
Yeah.
And as long as we reach our potential, that is really truly what I am very, very passionate about. You want to
No, you know that you're there, and it's like, you have no control anymore. You've just
Exactly.
got to trust them. So, you stand there and you're watching them perform, or you're, watching them on the warm-up floor, and you're like, there's nothing else you can say or do. It's
Right.
really on them. And it's,
Right.
you've got to trust that, you've done everything possible to that point.
Yeah, it's hard for sure. I don't love it. Every time I get there, I'm like, why do I do this again? but I think that's just how it rolls.
Okay, so this year when you got to nationals and you did jazz, from the first day you guys performed to the second day you performed to the final day, what was that like? Because they went from one performance to this final performance was just like a totally different dance. What did you do to get them there?
Her face says it all.
Because we've all been there as coaches. We
have.
have all been there, but I know everybody deals with it differently. And we watched those routines, just like the kids just went from being this point to being over here, and that's the coach. That to me is the coach got them there. So what did you do to get them to that point?
Well, honestly, coming down, we were having some, I would say, uncharacteristic things where in performances we would show up as one team, but whereas in rehearsal we were a different team. And so I think that the tale of two worlds was like a hard thing to navigate because you're like, and obviously you guys know me, but not everybody does. Like I would never put anything on the stage that I'm not thoroughly comfortable with is going to execute. And so when I didn't execute, again, I'm like, what is happening? Like, you just don't know as a coach. You start to question everything. Because I know what I see in rehearsal was not that. And so, there's, I think a lot of people that maybe knew me that knew like, okay, yeah, she's would never put that out there if that was how it was looking every single day in rehearsal. Clearly it wasn't. So ultimately it was just getting them to what I saw every day in rehearsal, doing that on the stage when it mattered the most.
Yeah.
And truly that is like a journey that I think a lot of teams have been on that I've coached, but a more public journey perhaps for
Yeah.
this team. And ultimately they had to figure it out. I mean, you can say it's a coach, but truthfully, they had to come together as a team to figure out like, how do you want to end this thing? Because they all saw what I saw in rehearsal too when they watched back footage. So
It's almost
it
like
was
a confidence level. Like, they're confident, but when they hit that stage, it's like, oh, they question themselves, and then they build up their confidence again. They question themselves again. It's almost like they just need to trust what you trust and what you've said you could do this, and then finally believe it to be like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Because I think a lot of times it's that it's like a mental block that dancers put. And I mean, if I had to do half that stuff on the stage, I'd probably would go, bye-bye, I'm not doing this. It's a lot.
for sure. And we had, I mean, again, excuses are not my jam, but we had some dominoes. We had to restage multiple times. And so I think there was just not that steady footing that we're normally used to have going into prelims. I mean, you know how that is when you're like, make it work. We got to make it work.
Yeah.
We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Keep your fingers
So
crossed.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much in that mode, I would say. And so, gosh, I've never loved having prelims more, but we needed it. But yeah, it was, I think, one of the most rewarding journeys for me
Yeah.
as a coach to watch unfold. Though painful in the moment, looking back on it, I think that maybe is what I'm most proud of is that it was very public. And there was
Yeah.
not a lot of there were some people that were super supportive, but there was a lot of people that weren't. And so
Yeah.
to see them come together as a team and overcome that in a very Ohio State way was really cool.
And it's amazing because your team have been one of the ones who've really put dance team on the map and have really, opened people's eyes to what college dance teams are, made people more interested in it. Like it's a phenomenon now. So it's got those double-edged swords. It's so great that everybody wants to see what you're doing, but then at the same time, you can't make a mistake because they're all watching. So it's like, you want them to watch, but at the same time, you're like, oh my God, why is everybody watching right now?
For sure. And I say this to the team all the time, like they walked into it. They don't deserve the heat because they are humans too. And a lot of those freshmen have never been a part of Ohio State. They didn't ask for, people to feel that type of way or expect them to be, a certain thing coming onto the team. But at the end of the day, I think, pressure is a privilege to a certain extent. And I think having that mindset of like the self-confidence to believe in yourself, like you're here for a reason. You're as a team are together for a reason. And you have to keep it positive because it can go into a really dark spot really quick, especially with the heat coming from social media these days. So
Yeah, social media, it has so many great things, but it really has a lot of negativity to it. And, but you know, like you have to look back and be like, it's a rough journey. And yes, this happened, but you know, there's many times you look back, I wouldn't change a thing because it makes you who you are. And if things are just given to you and it just comes easily, you don't appreciate it as much. It's like, you know, you struggle and it's like, okay, well, that wasn't good enough. And you work harder and you work harder. And then you get that final award or whatever it is because of all that hard work. And now you're like, oh, you appreciate that award. It just means so much more. So, I mean, watching your team and watching the journey that they went through, you know, I've been there with my team and I've had years that's happened that, you know, it's like, who are you guys? But I know that at the end, everybody feels so much more rewarded because, wow, we did it. We made it happen. And with everything stacked up against us, we still made it happen. So I think that your team, you know, they're a perfect example of that, of showing, you know, it's never good enough. We're going to do better. We're going to do better because we always want, you know, we want to win. So the only way you win is by working harder each time. So, and I think that comes from the coach. I think from you and your coaching staff that you guys do a great job of getting your team to that point.
well, thank you. We certainly try.
And I know personally because I've had you, you know, come in and get my team to that point and just seeing the way that you work with the kids and the way you talk to them and just little things that you give that make the difference in the dancer. And I think that, you know, every team, if they had like a Melissa to come in and give them those pointers, they would, you know, they would do so much better because you just give those final like little touches that are necessary to make the dancer like, you know, get to the next level. So I appreciate it.
I like to come to your team because I get to be the good cop. There's not many settings where I get to be positive, Polly, and like rally the troops. So
Oh,
luckily,
no. And I think that it's great
the
because
bad cop and I can be the good cop. I will take that.
it's great because the kids, they look up to you, but you do it in a positive way. So, I mean, I know with your team, you can't always be that way, but at least with my team, it's great because you give them exactly what they need, but there's always like a positive little, you know, push there. And it's like in a nice, it's still like a, but it's still like nice. So yeah, I'm excited to see, you know, where my student Nicole, where she goes with, you know, with Ohio, because it's exciting to have watched that process, to have a student and see them go through the process and you know, their ultimate dream, you know, is given to them. I'm, you know, excited to see what her next 4 years are going to be like with you. So I'll be there watching along on the side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're thrilled. I have already warned her if she doesn't come running into practice every day like she did when I showed up at Coral Reef, it's not going to be good. So no.
You know she will.
She
Yeah.
will. She will until you tell her, don't do that anymore.
I know. No, it'll be good. We're excited.
And how is it that, because obviously there is a lot of pressure on you guys and Ohio State to be #1 every year. And how is it that you continue to outdo yourself? I know that you guys change choreographers every few years to keep things fresh. What's your process with, like, I guess, vetting the choreographers? When you know it's time to change, what is your process with all of that?
I have always been a big intuition person. I don't know. I just always feel like you got to listen to your gut. You got to listen to your instincts as a coach because I think it's so easy to get caught in the swirl where I feel like some of the best coaches I've been around have a gut instinct or a gut feeling. And so I think a lot of our choices are, you know, me sitting down with my staff. Pat and Katie have been with me for a really long time and you guys know them, but they balance me out for sure. I need that. That's personality balance is mine. But I think it's always a group decision. So it's never like I'm making this choice. This is my decision for the team. And a lot of the time it's our seniors too, because you know, by the time you get to be a senior on our team, you've gone through it for 3 years. And this is your time to have influence and a legacy and, you know, really purpose on the team. And so that's kind of one of my favorite times is to be able to sit with our seniors and our coaches and have those conversations about what is it, where do we want to go. But I think the passion point for me is not staying somewhere because it's safe, and not doing something because it wins. I think those two things are just really key in what I believe. I think when you try to do something to win or to be safe, that is just not who we are as a team. We always want to be bringing something that feels fresh or different or unique or can move the industry forward in some way. That is like, I hope somewhere on my gravestone somewhere that like I really believe it so deeply that it's important. And so yeah, I think that's kind of how we go about that.
Yeah, because I feel that, I mean, you've brought on some incredible choreographers, and I mean, I know that a lot of teams will keep their choreographers on for years and years and years, and I know that you switch up to kind of keep things fresh like that. So it really is hats off to you for being able to follow that intuition and being able to, you know, say that this is something that can change the industry, and having that intuition with it. I know that that's not an easy decision a lot of times, and it's sometimes a risk. I get that, but yeah, that's an amazing thing to have, and an amazing thing for your kids to have too, because I know that it pushes their limits and makes them want to learn more and expands their horizons too.
Yeah, and collaborating with a choreographer is like so exciting to me. And figuring that out, I think it's a very, you guys know, it's a very delicate relationship, right? So it's always a journey, and worked with lots of different personalities for sure.
With choreographers, that tends to happen sometimes, is that, you know, you go a certain way and you want to do something different, but they want to go somewhere. So having that communication is not easy. And, you know, you have a nice team of coaches that will, you know, help you in that process. But yeah, that's a tough one. And I know a lot of people will stick with the same choreographer because it's just easy. It's, you know, it's what you know, and it's like, oh, you know, why struggle? Why try to find somebody else? But, you know, you've found a way of, okay, well, let me get somebody else now, and building relationship with different choreographers and bringing different styles and different routines from year to year. Which takes me to my next question. Which would you think is, you had to pick one favorite routine that you've ever had, what would it be?
You guys have some amazing ones. That's a tough one.
And what would be, a jazz or a palm?
I don't know that I can do that, honestly. I think because for me, you know, I certain routines stick out to people and I'm like, really? You know, because maybe behind the scenes or the process to get there wasn't as smooth or as easy as another routine that maybe people don't gravitate towards. But I was like, the process for that routine was like, you know, whatever. So I think I have a different perspective, if that makes sense, of just like,
Yeah.
it's hard for me because every year I think of different behind the scenes moments or how we got there, that or the costume that year. You know what it is. You
Yeah.
know what hurdle you're gonna hit, but um I just try and make sure that we're proud at the end of the year. You know, like you want to be proud of what you're bringing, and um I think that's the key for me. I don't know that I could pick one though, honestly.
Which was your first national championship?
2018, we did Crisis for Jazz, which was like a burgundy, like bike tired type of thing. Doug
Yeah.
Burkhart choreographed it.
Yeah.
And then Tribe did our palm that year. Yeah. So that was it was a big year. It was crazy.
Was that the year that the first time you used Tribe?
Yeah.
Wow. And then you won with Palm.
Yeah. We had gotten second and second the year prior. So I think. So, you know, we were all kind of knocking at the door, which was like honestly the best time. If I
Yeah.
could bottle that time up, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Those second place, that always gets you, you know,
Yeah.
motivated to like try harder the following year. So I know we were there many, many, many times.
And you've had a big connection to us for a long time, because I know that you brought Ricky Ruiz, and he kind of was like, I feel like he's the one that kind of like that year was like put you guys on the map for real. Like,
Well, with us
wasn't it top
especially,
three?
because with him doing it, it was like, oh, we got to keep an eye on Ohio.
But that was
Yeah.
that was top 3 that you won that year.
Um, yeah, because I would have been 16 and 17, I think. So yeah, I think so. They all run together. I think we got second in jazz, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
It was beautiful.
but yeah. It was,
Yeah, he was very proud of that.
he's
He was
such a,
very proud of
I mean, you guys know I love him. I love all the coral reef connections. But yeah, I remember watching actually Reef and being like, who did that? And how do I find it?
Yeah, he was so proud of having that opportunity and choreography, and he was just that you guys got all the way to second place. He was just like in awe. It was great for him, and it was so nice to watch from the side. That his choreography made it that far. So he is a wonderful kid. I love him to death.
And what of all of the football stadiums that your girls have gone to, which has been your favorite?
The Rose Bowl. There's nothing like the Rose Bowl. It's like they say it's the granddaddy of them all, and it really
Yeah.
is. Like the first time you go, it's very special. I always hope that like every so year our team can go out there because it's just they do it so well. The bowl committee is so organized and the parade and it's really magical actually.
You guys have such a cool football program too. I went to visit Ohio a few times. I went to go visit you a few times. And I actually remember it was during the Michigan game. Or like that week. It was like the week.
Okay.
I wasn't actually there for the game, but it was like during the week and I would walk through and I would see all the M's crossed out. It was so interesting.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
It is very cool football. And that you were able to go through the entire football season, you guys winning so much, and then nationals, and then the nationals football game. I mean, it's so exciting. You must look forward to when it's all over.
I mean, that was a logistical, just, a debacle, to be honest. You're planning for so many scenarios. And so the fact that it worked out made it all worth it. But I remember many times sitting at this desk being like, I swear if we do all this planning and it doesn't pan out or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's why you come to Ohio State. I kept selling them that when we were boarding the plane at 6 a.m. the day after we left ESPN at midnight. I was like, just remember, this is why you came to Ohio State. You wanted to be able to go to the national championship, and we're going. So
it's a once in a lifetime. I mean,
yeah.
You have to be so excited about that. I mean, for you guys, it's not once in a lifetime. For you, it'll happen several times. But as a dancer, being on the team, it's not something that's going to happen every single year. So how lucky are you that you get to be a part of that?
Yeah, it was storybook for sure.
Yeah, and you've done an amazing job with your program. Honestly, it's inspiring to watch. And being a part of such a big school and having all of that competition around you, you've done an amazing job. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
You're amazing. We love you. We love having you around and as an inspiration to everybody.
Yeah.
I love my Miami time.
All right. So what are no more questions? I think that our last questions are fun questions. So before practice, coffee or energy drink?
Oh, coffee.
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you take your coffee?
Iced coffee from Starbucks, venti.
Venti.
Venti is
Gotta go
important.
venti. Your team's favorite hype song for game days?
Oh God, I can't keep up with them. It's Fiend, but you never know what it's gonna be. Like they have a full process for their music, but yeah, you never know.
One word your dance would use to describe you?
I think that they would say I'm passionate.
If you weren't coaching dance and didn't have a studio, what do you think you would be doing?
I would be in HR at Abercrombie. Yeah.
Ooh,
Nice.
wow.
That'll be fun.
Is that what you were doing before?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing
And
job.
then finally, if the team had a mascot that's not the Buckeyes, what do you think their mascot would be?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. They're a fun group though. They're hilarious. I don't know about a mascot. Some of them are like too cool for school. So like I don't know, but they are big like iced coffee people too. So it would probably be like Duncan. They all love Duncan.
Oh, I love Duncan. Me too.
Well, now we know your coffee orders. So
Yeah,
next time you come,
so
we'll
we're
bring you
ready.
the venti iced latte.
Yeah.
Yeah. And big kudos to the team that you guys have been able to put dance team on the map. And that's huge because, it's something that needed to happen and people just didn't understand how athletic and what a, poised dancer you still have to be, and all the things that come along with, and you still have to be super smart because if they get into the colleges, and there's just so much that happens, and people don't, really see all that part. They just see like, oh, look how pretty they look on the stage. So, as a dance coach, it's nice that people are finally recognizing all the hard work, and I appreciate you guys helping get that to that point.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's probably the biggest passion of mine. I think, I love Ohio State and I love our team, but I think dance team, to your point, like for all the people like you and so many coaches and choreographers that honestly came before even this time to like get the ball there, it's developed so much, but I think in the last 5 years to watch it sort of take off has been really cool.
So what are some things that you do backstage with your girls before getting on stage? Like a little team huddle. What is it that you do?
Yeah, I'm always curious about what people do backstage. It's like one of these things where as a coach, you get back there, you're like, oh, this is me. Got it. Like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to be doing back here? It's like, I remember that first time as a coach, I was like so used to being the athlete and like listening and, getting myself ready that when I was in the coaching shoes, I was like, I don't understand what you do back here. I'm just like a pretty passionate person. So usually words just kind of like spew out of my mouth. And I'm like, what did I just say? And sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they're not. I never pre-plan it. I think every team and where you are in your performance journey is different. And so I think I just kind of try and assess what we need and what the team needs. Never too high, never too low, but there's usually some fiery words happening, I'm sure.
Yeah, sometimes you wish that there was a camera on you, so later on you can say, what did I say?
Yeah.
I hope I didn't say anything inappropriate.
Yeah, I mean, and every team is different. I think you got to know your kids, some of my teams like need that hype and they need that like energy, and some of them actually like are too high. And I'm like, I remember that was like last year, I was like trying to bring them down, like stay grounded,
Yeah.
because you don't want that them to get out there and be like, what just happened?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you have any like little traditions with them too that,
I would say we do a tradition like the night before we compete, which is senior letters, where all of our seniors write a letter to the team. And like, honestly, I'm an emotional wreck already. And then that just, takes me waterworks, and it's usually really inspiring to hear about what the team has meant to them. And that's really cool, but that's not necessarily backstage. I think that just kind of sets the tone for the weekend. Backstage, we always do our break, and our team each year picks a motto. So usually that means something and without fail, every year we pick a motto that somehow comes into play. So like this year's was believe it. And I just kept telling them, I'm like, that's what we talked about in the beginning of the scene. You have to believe in yourselves. You have to. When nobody else is, you have to believe in yourself. And sure enough, that was the key to the weekend was, believing in them and their product. And so it always comes into play. You just never know when.
No, and if you've trained them like you have, and you train them well enough from the beginning of the year, they're ready. When they get there, it just happens.
Yeah. And that's so crazy. You're emotional every time that you go to nationals. There's never a nationals that you are just like chill. Calm, chill, or like unemotional. It's just it's an emotional roller coaster.
It never gets easier.
No.
Ever.
I think the year that you're not emotional is the year you need to be done. Like,
for sure.
It's like you can't do what we do and not have passion for the kids and for the purpose and being a dance educator. You just can't. You can, but I think it's more rewarding.
Yeah.
To pour your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't realize that there's going to be another team that you're going to think, oh, this is my babies, and oh my God, I'm so close to them. And then another team comes along, and it's like all over again. And you thought I couldn't feel that way about anybody, but here I am, this team again, and it's hard. It's like you give birth every year to 20 some kids, and then they move along, and then another 20 again. And
well, I don't know how you do it. You are like the queen. I mean, Alexandra and I, we're just learning here. We're just learning from you.
I'm knocking on my retirement. I'll be there.
She says she's retiring.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
We'll see.
I don't know. You got the passion, so Becky. You inspire me every time I'm around you. So.
Yeah. It seemed my body could keep up. Like in the mornings, getting up, it's like.
Oh, please, you ran a marathon the last time years ago when I was there. I can't even run like a mile, so I don't want to hear it.
Oh yeah, that was that. I don't know. That was stupid of me. I don't know what I was thinking.
Casual marathon before our nationals rehearsal. Okay.
I think that the following day I couldn't walk at all. I think it took me a couple of days to walk, and me thinking, what was going on in my head? Why did I think I could do this? Yeah, I didn't do that again this year. So
Yeah, I was like, she's doing a marathon. I can extend my trip to help her out. So I think we did that.
so grateful that you were able to stay that extra day, Melissa. It made such a difference for my dancers. We really were prepared and ready for nationals because of all that extra time that you put in.
And hopefully we'll be able to bring you back again. But thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Be a Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast.
And to all our viewers, dancers, coaches, we hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as we did.
And if you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Instagram. And if you have any questions or feedback, make sure to click on our link tree and fill out our Google form.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.